Welcome, Solara here. I hope you guys are doing well today. I'm back again to do a reading and to share some of the downloads I've been writing today. I did a video for you guys last night, which I uploaded. I almost didn't share it because I had so many fucking interruptions happening while I was trying to tape that, and it was like almost midnight. I sat down to do that video at like 11:30, thinking that I would have some peace. But that wasn't the case. So I decided to come back here today and see how the energy is feeling now. I'm bringing some downloads into the picture. So in other words, I have things written down that I'm going to share with you. And we're going to talk about this because this energy of distractions, interruptions, trying to pull people off kilter and out of their emotional centeredness within self is a very, very big theme I've been picking up on, especially in Cancer season. And like I said yesterday, or I said in the video that I posted earlier on today, this energy that we find ourselves in, this energy window, is the sun is in Cancer astrologically, but it's in Gemini astronomically. So we're dealing with both Cancer and Gemini energy at this point. It doesn't matter whether you believe in tropical or sidereal astrology, as far as I'm concerned, or Vedic. The way I see these things is that energy grows in accordance with the direction of our consciousness, and so the collective consciousness is very connected to the astrological idea that the sun is in Cancer, and yet the truth of the matter is that the sun is in Gemini. So either way, we are connecting in very big ways to both energies, and as such, we are still like in that overlap of Gemini and Cancer energy. And what that seems to be lending itself in doing is Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac, right? So it is a final sign that closes out the first quarter. Every quarter of the zodiac closes out with mutable energy. So the first quarter closes out with Gemini, second quarter closes out with Virgo, third quarter closes out with Sagittarius, and then finally the whole wheel closes out with Pisces energy. So when we get to the mutable sign, we're closing out a quarter. We're integrating the energies that began and grew and matured through that quarter. And the first quarter of the zodiac is to do with mental energies. It's to do with aligning with your higher mind, because it's only when we get access to our higher mind are we even able to begin to take the journey back into our higher hearts. And I don't want to go too deep into that energy right now, or a synopsis of that right now. I kind of want to leave it at that. But we are taking a journey now, utilizing the information we've been able to connect to and to accrue in that first quarter of the zodiac that took us higher into our higher mind, in order now to navigate our way back into our higher hearts. Energy occurs in cycles. We break through patterns cyclically, and every single pattern on the zodiac wheel, every single sign on the zodiac wheel has a wisdom or a medicine, and the zodiac wheel on a whole is there to unite us back to our divinity and our truth, which is why we're not here to hate on any sign, because when we hate on a sign, we're ultimately hating on self, and we're hating on that divine aspect within self and the medicine that that sign is here to bring us, to help us to reconnect with that aspect of self, right? So in those of you, whatever signs you have a more, more pronounced in your chart are the signs where you might have more to give, or you might have more to learn, or it might be both, but it doesn't matter, because we are all the signs of the zodiac. Okay, so before I get into this, I just want to take a moment to say hello, to welcome all of you. Welcome if you're visiting for the first time, welcome if you're returning. Thank you to those of you who are, my subscribers, those of you who've been with me, hanging with me for a minute. If you don't like me, that's fine. You don't have to like me. If you don't like what I have to say, you don't agree with what I have to say, that's all good. We're all good in the hood. Just keep it moving. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to evangelize. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm here to respectfully share with you what it is that I've been shown. And if it's in alignment with what it is that you've been shown, or it helps you to go higher, then wonderful, because that's my only real purpose. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get too lost in the sauce. I want to really get into some of these downloads tonight. I want to take a moment before I do that to breathe. And I invite you all to do the same, to breathe, because it's been really interesting. Cancerian energy is very interesting. And the reason it is because Cancer is where we begin to connect with all the things that have birthed our emotional patterning, but also all of the ways we are able to create. It's a very, very vast sign, and I feel like I only scrape the surface when I talk about certain zodiac energies, Cancer being one, and that also is the nature of water. It can't be, it can't be grasped. You just can't grasp water. You can't grasp air. You can't grasp fire, for that matter. You can hold on to earth, but that's, out of all the elements, you can't. But water, like exploring the power of water can be just very, very interesting, especially if, like me, you have a lot of Cancerian energy. Anyway, let's get into the downloads. So I heard, amongst other things, that some of y'all are shining too brightly. Okay, some of you are shining too brightly and you're disturbing someone else's false comfort. You're shining too brightly, and in doing so, you're disturbing someone else's false comfort. And please, understand and overstand, I ain't telling you to stop shining. If your shine is too bright for somebody else, they need to go and invest in a pair of sunglasses or get the fuck out of your presence. Period, point blank, because there are many beings who love the sun and there are beings who don't like it, and that's not your fucking problem. If you're shining and you're being who you are, if someone has a problem with you, they can exit stage left or stage right. You're not here to dim yourself for anything or anyone else. But this energy that I'm picking up on is all about shining too brightly, and instead of moving the fuck out of the way, wanting to dim you. And here's the thing about this energy right now. It's not presenting itself by accident. This is a collective theme that's happening right now, because many of y'all, many of us, we're rising, we're waking up, we're taking back authority over self. And that makes people, beings who have held us under their thumb, uncomfortable as fuck. And it's only going to make them more uncomfortable as we move through Cancer and Leo season, because as you tune higher into your heart and you begin to express that and live faithfully from that place, you're going to piss off those who don't know what it is to not be fake. It's as simple as that. The more authentic you are, the more you rub people the wrong way who like to live behind masks. But that's not your fucking problem. So what I heard was that some of you are shining too brightly and you're disturbing someone else's false comfort. And so they're trying to get you off balance and out of your emotional equilibrium. Again, this is probably happening in a very personal way in your reality, but it's part of the collective story, because this is what's happening as we rise back into authenticity. And so my guides were saying that the true golden ratio is now being established on the earth. The true golden ratio. And I might get into that a little bit more in another video as I get more downloads about that. But a lot of the sacred geometry that we were taught as was sacred isn't, in my opinion. It isn't. There was something about some of the designs I was shown that never quite sat right with me. And the thing about spirituality and the false matrix is they would always give us just enough truth to draw us in. And if we didn't question at every turn, we would get lost in the sauce of what it was they were trying to pull us into frequentially, right? So it just would take a little bit of deception to get us off track. And there was something about a lot of the sacred geometric templates that from the get-go my guides had me move away from. And they said to me at the start, they're like, there are discrepancies in this and how it's been taught. So I've stayed away from it and I haven't gone back to it since. And it seems like now I'm being taken more into the wisdom of that, because it's time to reestablish the true golden ratio back onto the earth plane. The golden ratio upon which the false matrix was set was a false one. Okay, and so now it's time to switch things back around. And this has a lot to do with, again, the grids. When we're dealing with Cancer energy, we're dealing with the true grid lines of the earth. We're dealing with the dragon lines of the earth. We're dealing with the dragons coming back into authority, in their rightful place of authority on the earth planes, where they are here to protect our divine integrity and our ability to live as sovereign beings, and they're here to enforce the true golden ratio that also, what I'm seeing, establishes the frequential nature and barriers that are needed for all things to be in divine order. And I've talked about this before, about how the false matrix removed all of the frequential barriers that were supposed to be in place, which is why there was so much war and dismay. Divinely, we are separated by frequency, and we don't dabble in areas where we're not in frequential alignment, not because we're better or they're worse or any of that bullshit, simply because when we're not in alignment with our frequential truth, we are out of divine alignment. And when we're out of divine alignment, anytime we move out of divine alignment, we open up doors and portals that lead us into deception, that lead us away from source, that lead us away from self, that lead us away from our protections. And so it's really important to stay in alignment with self, in radical honesty with self, and connected to source in order not to stray. And the false matrix purposely had us at every opportunity moving farther away from self, farther away from source, and even utilizing things like spirituality and religion to get us stuck and away from self. And the whole point of that was so we could get lost. We'd be lost sheep, right? So we could be lost and we'd be opened up to be energy harvested. Because again, you cannot be energy harvested when you are aligned and in your power. You cannot be duped. You cannot be deceived when you are in your energy, and you are therefore not living in self-deception. You're not courting deception. You haven't opened portals and doors and roads that lead you away from yourself and away from source. Okay, so the false matrix did that on purpose, opened portals, opened doors, used programs to get us to do that to ourselves electromagnetically and to do that to one another, used ritual through their orders and their corporations to get us stuck moving in energies that took us away from self and had us congregating with groups that were completely out of frequential alignment, because understand and overstand, this is what also fed their war templates. Beings who are in frequential alignment with one another have no reason to beef. Okay, so and it gets really difficult to explain, because the way the false matrix was designed, it was ingenious. I will always give them that. It was ingenious. It was evil genius. It was using the genius that was given to them divinely in order to fuck people up, but it was still genius. And I say that because it was like no T wasn't crossed or I dotted when it came to ways to keep us frequentially bound out of our own nature and truth. Okay, so what has been coming through, and this was also, I was speaking about this in the message last night, you are no longer losing yourself to these shenanigans. Okay, so there are these energies that want to take you out of emotional equilibrium. For some of you, it's happening on a very personal level. For others of you, it's happening more on a collective level. But understand and overstand that this is the nature of the season. If through that Cancer energy, the whole point is to get you emotionally disturbed, triggered, to fuck with your nervous system. Cancer energy is very, very, very rooted in not just your nervous system, but very specifically your limbic system, which is where you store a lot of your emotional memory and your emotional history that therefore causes you to react in certain ways, even, just unconsciously. So, for example, a person who has been traumatized is easily triggered, right? And we pathologize that as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And those of you who have survived the severe narcissistic abuse of this false matrix, whether it was because of the systems or whether it was because of your families and other groups or other beings, may have also been diagnosed with this thing that they call complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD, which is where instead of like with regular PTSD, which is normally reserved for people who've been through like really a really horrific event or have been veterans in war. PTSD is like a horrible event that kind of changes your life forever, and you know, you find it really difficult to emotionally process it. And so, for example, veterans who come back from war, they might be really sensitive to sound because they were constantly hearing gunfire and bombs. And so even like in a very quiet room, if something drops and it disturbs that quietness, it can cause them to be dysregulated in their nervous system, because that would be a trigger, the sound. Their nervous system has been programmed into that state through trauma. Okay, now complex PTSD, CPTSD, speaks about the programming of the nervous system into that hypersympathetic state based upon micro traumas that have occurred over small amounts of time. So a micro trauma are the little accumulations, the microaggressions, the gaslighting, the mental and the emotional fuckery, for my people of color, racism, you know, women, gender bias, whatever it is where you've dealt with like daily oppression based upon who you are and how you've threatened other beings on this earth, and then how in response they've tried to harm you, whether, you know, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or physically. You built up this story within your nervous system, and that oftentimes was stored in the limbic system, and therefore your expression when that gets, when it gets ignited, or what we call triggers, right? So this is important because a lot of these energies right now are wanting to play on those triggers. Okay, so and the reason for this, okay, is that there is a clearing. Okay, so first and foremost, there are a lot of solar plexus clearings and upgrades coming through, a lot of heart chakra and higher heart clearings and upgrades coming through. Those would be the three main chakras of focus right now through Cancer and Leo season. All of the other ones are important, especially the sacral chakra too. But in terms of like the foundational energies, the foundational chakras that are really being focused and blasted right now would be the solar plexus, the heart chakra, and the higher heart. Okay, and to some extent also, you know, the throat, because you can't talk about the solar plexus without the throat, because they are corresponding chakras. I have my blue kyanite in my bra, which is a throat chakra stone. Yes. So solar plexus clearings and upgrades. There's a clearing of the roots and the foundations of the fear templates that were placed in your solar plexus. I want to be very clear with this. There is a clearing of the roots and the foundations of the fear templates that were placed in your solar plexus, so outside authority figures could seize your will and try to run your show. So these are all the ways you were programmed out of yourself through fear. These are the things that want to come up for resolution for many of you right now. And it's going to happen for all of us in different degrees, in accordance with how much of this healing work we've already done for some of us, and also how deeply damaged your solar plexus was through these constant horrific acts of trauma, which didn't only occur, guys, in this lifetime. You are clearing the caches of energy, especially right now, and this is what we've been doing throughout Ascension, that dates all the way back to the previous golden age. Okay, so But we've been clearing it layer by layer by layer, and 2024, as I've spoken about in many other videos, is where we get to the roots and the foundation and the inception and the genesis points of things that laid out this foundation for the false matrix. So I was saying yesterday that astrology was speaking to me in the sense that it's showing me that from this next full moon in Capricorn, which I think is happening on the 21st of July, all the way up until the 13th of January, which will be the new moon in Capricorn, 13th of January 2025, the new moon in Capricorn will be happening. No, wait a minute, the full moon in Cancer will be happening on the 13th of January, I think. Yes, the full moon in Cancer is happening on the 13th of January. And hold on a second, let me just double check this. Give me 1 second to get this information. I'm pretty sure it's a full moon in Cancer that's happening on 13th of January. And the new moon in Cancer is happening at the end of the year, like maybe the 27th of December or something. Let me just get this right. The full moon in Cancer at the degree, an Aquarian degree, is occurring on the 13th of January. And not for nothing, I wasn't really picking this up. I don't know why I didn't think about this as I was doing the video last night. But I did mention that as the full moon and as the moon reaches her fullness in Capricorn at 29 degrees, the sun reaches its fullness in Cancer at 29 degrees, and then the sun will move into Leo at 0 degrees, and the moon will also move into Aquarius. So we've got the moon in Aquarius and the sun in Leo meeting together at the very beginning of Leo season. It won't be the full moon in Aquarius that will happen at the end of Leo season, but we do have them kind of coming together at the very beginning. And I said it yesterday in yesterday's video, that this Leo season, the new golden age, is being born now in us. And from the full moon in Capricorn that's happening the day before the sun enters into Leo, from that point on, a lot of what it is that we have been intuiting, feeling, seeing drips of 1919 on my clock, as I say that, is going to start flooding into the material realm quite rapidly, from the full moon in Capricorn all the way up to the full moon in Cancer at the beginning of January of 2025, where these new golden age energies are about to be established foundationally now on the earth. So the first kind of half of the, well, not even the first half, the first couple of signs of the zodiac this year, the first half of the year, if you're going by the Gregorian calendar, has been dealing with a lot of the clearing of the root and the foundation energies upon which the false matrix was built upon. And then the second half of the year, and as we move deeper into the zodiac wheel, we're going to start laying down more roots in the true earth foundations. We're going to be building that up, and it's going to be materially coming forth quite rapidly. So for those of you who follow astrology and the New Age teachings around what's happening right now, you've probably been hearing for years that come 2025, the world is going to be like flipped over. It's not going to be the same. And indeed, that's what we have been living through. We've been living through the flipping of the inversion. The inversion has already been flipped. It's done, been flipped. Okay? There's no more living in complete opposition to who we are unless we choose to opt into that, or unless we continue to stay attached to the false matrix programs, right? The inversion was flipped already, but now we're going to begin to materialize it through this Leo window, and it's like Leo and Aquarius are meeting at the very beginning to kind of seal something, seal some kind of golden age energy together. Aquarius being the new sign that is leading this golden age, this new golden age, and Leo being the one passing the baton from the previous golden age on the earth planes, okay? So there's a clearing of the roots and foundations of the fear templates that were placed in your solar plexus so that outside or external authority figures could seize your will and try to run your show. Now, remember what I said at the beginning, and I've said this before also. You are not here for anyone else to run you. Not even a parent. That goes against divine order. It goes against universal laws. Okay? Because every time you move away and out of alignment and you listen to someone else's wisdom for you over your own, you are opening doors that can lead you into deception. And when you lead yourself into deception, or when you're pushed into deception, and please understand and understand, deception isn't this like umbrella thing that you open a door and anyone who walks down that road, they're in the same place. Our soul purposes and soul paths are as unique as we are in our cosmological identity, right? So all of us are different. We're all here for a different purpose. So when I open a door to walk into truth, if I were to open that door for somebody else and invite them to walk through, that could be leading them into deception, because it's not for them, or it's not their time, or they've already been through that door before and learned those lessons. It's not for them, which is why I will always say to people as my disclaimer, and I will continue to say it because it is a form of protection for myself, but also for those beings who don't like me. Here's the thing: if you continue to walk with beings who you're not in frequential alignment with, even if informationally you can vibe with what they're saying, but vibrationally speaking, you're not on the same wavelength, then you are courting the possibility of taking yourself out of alignment. And right now it's very tender because we're only just learning how to do this. So we have to be a little bit more fastidious about how we plant ourselves in certain energies, and how we allow ourselves to show up in public spaces and venues and stating, who we are, etc. But we are not here to give away our authority over our solar plexus to anyone. Parents are here to help children connect with the truth of their divine blueprint, which comes through the throat, so they can actualize it, which comes through the solar plexus. They're not here to tell them how. Nobody knows how to get there but you. The only thing we can do as a parent is guide you into your talents and your gifts, and to call out your power to help make the journey there easier. But through the false matrix system, what it had parents doing was constantly taking children off of their divine paths, out of their divine purpose. And they called it all manner of things: discipline, care, love, you got to be ready for the real world, and all that other shit. But the truth of the matter is that true parenting, in the nature of aligning with one's divinity, means that we have to deal with all of our children in the way that they need, in accordance with their own unique soul purpose, not what the false matrix says they need to do and adhere to in order to survive or to have their trinkets. And so in that way, parents were constantly taking over the authority of their children's solar plexus, and therefore opening them up to the harvesting systems of the false matrix, where later on other external authority figures would also be able to direct their path. Okay, so schooling system, teachers, government, all of these things are ways of opening ourselves up to be led astray, led into deception, led away from our divine purpose and truth. And anytime we do that, we're opening our fields up to be siphoned. We're opening ourselves up to be energy harvested. And the evil geniuses and architects of the false matrix knew this about you, but they also knew you didn't know this about yourself, because when you came through the veil of amnesia, you'd done forgotten who you were, right? So anyway, right now the whole point is to clear the roots and the foundations of those fear templates, because a lot of the ways that authority was seized from us as children was through fear, through intimidation, through shame, through guilt, through all of those lower emotional frequencies and vibrations that were used and weaponized against us to get us to do what it was that the parent wanted us to do, that the schooling system needed us to do, you know, in order to get us to constantly betray and reject ourselves, get used to it, and call it discipline, right? So those are the energies that are constantly used to take someone out of personal authority. It will be fear, it will be guilt, it will be shame, and once you establish that in someone's energy field, it becomes very easy to control them without even having to do anything directly. The whole false matrix program was underneath MK Ultra. It was underneath mind control. We were all mind controlled through these systems and these programs, even through family and parenting, to respond to certain social cues and mores in order to get us to constantly come back into alignment with what it is we were told is acceptable. And what we were told was acceptable was always going to be something that nurtured a group narrative whereby there was no way as individuals we could walk in accordance with our divine purpose and our divine truth. And oftentimes those beings who had a problem with that group narrative were the ones that were thrown to the wolves, were the ones who were scapegoated, were the ones who were shamed and guilted and traumatized in order again to influence them back into that way of behaving, or really to feed off of them also. Okay, so the authority figure that taught you to give away your power, who taught you to, who took over your will, who seized your will, who seized control over your solar plexus at an early age. This is the energy that's going to be coming up this season for you to deal with. And if you haven't already overcome that story in your reality, it's going to be something that you will be, that will be brought to the fore and magnified all the more for you to deal with it. So Cancer season, that energy of the mother and toxic feminine figures that have manipulated you out of your power. These are going to be big themes in Cancer season. In Leo season, it will be more of that masculine energy, the father figures that pulled you out of your power, okay? So if this was your mother predominantly, who was the outside authority, who tried to run you from an early age and continue to throughout life to various degrees. For everyone it's going to be different, right? Cancer season will bring the intensifying of these energies and the spirits she entreated or was or is an open channel for. Okay, so you're not just battling with flesh and blood, you're dealing with programs, traditions, teachings that were also corded to certain entities. And when you're corded to a certain entity, there's a whole hierarchy within that entity's kingdom too. So you're not just dealing with one, you're dealing with many. So the different programs that people fell under due to trauma in the false matrix, we're also opening them up to entity exposure and to become channels for these entities, thereby opening up everyone to constant attack, because we were all channeling these entities and thinking that we were living in accordance with what was good and proper and right, because some of the most fucked up entities are those ones that like to pretend that they're good. You know, it's like, it's so much better to own your shit than it is to pretend to be something you're not, because those entities, they love them. One of their favorite places to lurk is in our denial and our repressed truth. But that's a whole other story. Okay, so the whole point of what is happening right now is so we can assert ourselves, protect our inner children, and take back all the authority that was lost to the hijacking of our solar plexuses and our true divine destiny. So when your solar plexus is hijacked, it takes you off the path to your divine destiny. So think about the Care Bears, guys, because they always be telling us what they're doing in all of their fucking media and entertainment, right? So the Care Bears had that big light that would shine out of their solar plexus in accordance with who they were. So my favorite, of course, because I'm a Leo sun, one of my favorites was Braveheart. So Braveheart had, I think he had a red heart on his belly. I don't remember, it's been a while. And he would shine that, and you would become brave in Braveheart's presence when he shone that solar plexus light on you, right? Your solar plexus light is what lights up who your divine nature and helps you to walk in your divine purpose. It helps you to walk in alignment. So if somebody who is not authorized, right, to access your solar plexus then tries to come and program it, they will inevitably program you out of your divine gifts and off of your divine path. And that was why they set up the structures, the systems, even families and traditions, and their policing and bullying agendas in the false matrix system. They set it up like that on purpose so that we were constantly being removed off of our divine paths, therefore stripped of our divine truth and our protections, and therefore constantly opening ourselves up to be deceived, but constantly searching for truth, because that is the nature of our soul. Our soul will always try to get us back on track. Right? But we didn't know how to, because we weren't told who we were and how this shit worked. And if anything, we were told a lot of conflicting information in order to keep us fucked up and confused. Right? So the whole point of what we're going through right now is to get back the full authority over our own gold, our own golden energy. We're going into the golden age. We're reestablishing the true golden ratio back on the earth planes. What does that mean? That means that when we are, by divine design, living and walking in accordance with who we actually are, and we're living the fuck out of that truth, and we're therefore living in our joy, and we're living in our purpose, we don't take issue with other beings. We're not playing these fucked up Hunger Games trying to survive. And in that space, a golden age, a golden era can be born. It can be perpetuated. That's how it was once upon a time. Every single being had full authority and autonomy over self and their own divine path. It was through Atlantis that some of these bigwigs thought that they were able to rule other people and tell them what the fuck to do. And in doing so, all ego-based, like inflated ego or deflated ego, depending on how you look at it, in doing that, in asserting themselves over someone else's spiritual purpose and path, taking over their solar plexus, age of Leo, this happened, of course, right? In taking over someone else's divine authority over themselves, they opened the other beings up for to be taken out of their divine purpose, and they took themselves out of their divine purpose. Because here's another thing. Nobody is here to tell anyone else how to be themselves. And anytime that we try to do that, we are out of alignment with truth also. So either way you look at it, whether you're the perpetrator or you're the one being mastered, or other beings are trying to control you, both parties are out of divine alignment, and they love the shit out of that in the false matrix, because these beings who were lording themselves over other people really thought themselves superior, but they weren't, because they were even more out of alignment than many of the ones that they were subjugating. And you're about to see that now too, because it's their judgment that they continue to think that they were above anyone else, to the point where they're not even able to see right now the energies that are happening on the earth plane so they can save themselves. They're still walking in that blind position of false superiority. Okay. So if it was your father who was the main figure, predominant figure, authority figure, who was used to seize your will or to take you off of your path, through solar plexus hijacking, it will be Leo season. where these energies are going to show up more intensely for clearing and reclaiming. If it was a joint effort by both parents, these themes will be playing out for you in this Leo and Cancer season. And a lot of that's the grand sublimation of that will occur through the integrative energies of the mutable sign of Virgo, which then closes out the halfway point of the zodiac wheel. So, I forgot to make this announcement at the very beginning, and I'm thinking about it now as I'm going through this father and mother energy. I have 2 group events happening this weekend. I have my Road Back to Wholeness happening on Saturday, June the 29th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a small group. It's like only 7 people are allowed in that group. And we really deal with the programming and the tuning of what's happening on any specific plane. So in order to materialize our divine destiny on earth as it was written in the heavens, we must balance ourselves out on all planes, and every zodiac sign connects us with a certain plane to assist us with the clearing and the balancing out of it. And through Cancer season, the focus is on the emotions, your emotional history, but also very, very focused right now on the ways we were tuned out of ourselves through family and ancestral dysfunction. So these are the themes that are coming up right now. That's what we're going to be focusing on tomorrow in group discussion, okay, with the smaller group, the Road Back to Wholeness. And then on Sunday, I normally will host a tarot astrology group monthly, but because last weekend's group check-in session was such a success, I decided to redo that format with the option of looking at your moon sign, okay? And we're looking at the moon sign very specifically to get to the bottom of the contracts you had with your mother in this false matrix and the contracts you had to the false matrix that had you perpetually going through very similar stories and woundings. That comes through your moon sign for me when I break it down through the art of tarot astrology. So if you're interested in joining me on Sunday, June the 30th from 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is a time to check in, it is a time for personal guidance, it is a time to get assistance and support through these very, very intense energy windows, especially as we move into this new moon in Cancer. And the focus, if you're interested, will really be connecting with your moon energies through this time together on Sunday. Okay, so back to the reading. So what many of us will be going through right now on different levels. So it's going to depend on what your own situation is, but collectively there is this theme of these attempts to overpower you in the full expression of your divine authority over self. Okay, we see that playing out magnanimously, you know, on the global stage in so many different ways. I only want to go into it because I can't I can't even tune into that shit. I try just because I'm just like, well, what's going on? And the minute I start, even when people who I respect start to like talk or write about it, I can't do it. I just can't, so I don't at this point, right? So there are attempts to overpower you in the full expression of your divine authority and over self, and this is going to play out mainly, again, in the emotional fields, because we're dealing with these foundational emotional energies that have been embedded in our subconscious, that have been the invisible cues and triggers which caused us to choose to do things unconsciously that had us acting against ourselves because we'd been programmed out of our truth, because our solar plexus energy had been continually and perpetually hijacked from the beginning by parents and throughout life by other quote-unquote authority figures. Okay, and again, like I said, this isn't just to do with this lifetime. This is how these stories have played out all the way from Atlantis. So the way that this might come through for many of you is in your dream life. Your dream life might be very, very vibrant. It's going to be a good time for you to do dream work, to take a dream journal, work with dream herbs, lavender, mugwort. What's the other one I like to use? Is it blue lotus? Is that what it's called? The Egyptian one, I think it's called blue lotus. Those are all really great herbs to work with. to help you travel in dreams. Any herbs that are connected to Venus and to water and to the moon will be very powerful. Motherwort can be really, really potent to work with in these energies because it's a heart tonic, and it's one of my favorites to work with when it comes to dealing with the mother wound. Motherwort, I wouldn't drink that one. You can in small amounts, but it's very bitter. So unless you're trying to drink it as a pre-digestive before you eat, if you want to ingest it, I wouldn't suggest you put it in a tea blend. But ladies, very powerful to work with yoni steams. Those of you who like to use herbs as facial steaming, you like to do herbal facial steams, motherwort can be great. You can use it in the bath. You can just put it in a sachet and connect with it in the dream time, put it under your pillow. You can concoct a tea and put it in a bowl and place it underneath your bed to commune with as you dream. Also, if you want to add the water component to help you travel with a little bit more ease. Motherwort works really beautifully also with mugwort, and mugwort is a really great herb to connect with when you're doing any form of dream, psychic, or astral work because it's extremely protective. Okay, so the way these energies will be showing up for you to notice, to process, to expose, to explore, etc. Dream life through old triggers, and these triggers might not be mental triggers, meaning it might not be words that trigger you, but feelings. Feelings. Pay attention to how your feelings are hurt. Okay, and I know that your feelings get hurt through mental triggers, but it can be a little bit different. Like when you're dealing with just purely emotional triggers, and sometimes what's triggering you can't see. It might be more of an intuitive hit that's triggering you, and a lot of the time that intuitive hit is because somebody possibly is living deceptively, someone is sending you that nasty emotional energy, or someone is being opened as a channel for those entities of the false matrix that have been on you to flow through them also. Okay, and it will come through very strongly in ways that you might not get, but it will also come through in behaviors that are deeply covert and deceptive, in which you are forced to question your reality and why you're feeling so strongly. Cancer energy does that a lot. Cancer energy can open you very, very widely up to all manner of old timelines that drag you into emotional experiences that don't make sense in accordance with what it is that's happening materially. So be aware of that. You're not crazy. I'm going to share with you a story of what happened to me last Cancer season. I think I shared it with you here at the time that it occurred also. I had an interaction with somebody, and all of a sudden I was dragged, and I knew this was happening because now I know when I'm being dragged into timelines, lower timelines. I felt myself being dragged into a timeline, and all of a sudden I went from being really happy earlier on in that day to all of a sudden curled up in a ball on the floor in fetal position, fighting through suicidal energies. Came out of nowhere. I know the door that was opened through this person. This is why you got to be so careful who you entertain in this season, because just because somebody seems to be nice doesn't mean that they're not open channels for these entities to flow through, even on an innocent way, and they can still target and attack you. And that's what occurred to me. That's what occurred for me, I should say. And it happened right when Cancer, the sun in Cancer, reached the degree that matches where my Venus in Cancer is on my chart, which is how I knew what was happening also. Now, for those of you who might not be aware of what it feels like to be dragged into a lower timeline, everyone it's different. For me, because I have a lot of water energy, my experience has always been almost like I'm being taken underwater. It feels very watery. Things start to feel kind of blurry, confusing, emotionally, all of a sudden emotionally like big. Things start to feel like overwhelming is kind of what I'm saying, and it will come out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, a lot of the time when this happens, because everything that has been occurring through these windows, when you are walking in your truth, it's here, it's supposed to happen, right? So your guides are protecting you through this process and helping you not to succumb to fear, right? So when that happened, everywhere I went, I would see my initials and like priority. The word would be priority than my initials, because they were doing road work, and the name of the construction company was my initials, and it said priority because of the work they were doing. That happens a lot for me when I'm going into these lower timelines. So you need to discern how this works, and for everyone, this Cancer energy might not pull you as deeply as it would a being like me, and that is going to also be dependent upon you know, the Cancer energy, 4th house energy in your own chart, the 4 degree, 16 degree, 28 degree presence in your chart, as well as if you have a lot of, water energy, what you are elementally, etc. So that's kind of how I experience it. Okay, so dream life triggers and memories resurfacing, and sometimes old methods of how they controlled and emotionally manipulated your narrative will return. So where beings had control of your narrative through using methods of fear, guilt, shame, the very methods they use to try to take you out of yourself and put you under their authority, those themes, patterns, behaviors, reminders are going to start coming forth. And they're coming forth in order for you to see something deeper about the pattern. But most importantly, they're coming forth for you to make peace with it internally and let it go. Okay? So the guidance that was coming through was, it's time to be so in tune with your intuition, especially if you are still in contact with these beings who were your original solar plexus programmers and hijackers. So for many of you, that's going to be parental figures, elders within your family, whether those are your siblings, people who were kind of in charge of like raising you. Those kinds of beings are the main ones a lot of the time who are the first perpetrators of solar plexus hijacking. So be very in tune with your intuition if you're still in contact with these beings, because they will go, especially those ones who you had abusive narratives with because they wanted to control you, because they were so bound into that false matrix narcissistic agenda that they literally hated you because they'd opened up themselves to those entities for them to flow through them. Be very, very careful, because these are the beings who will go to extremes, but in very covert ways, often to try and reestablish emotional dominance over your solar plexus. Now, emotional dominance over your solar plexus, that's going to be attempts to get you to doubt yourself, so you take yourself off your path. Doubt what you're feeling, doubt your reality, doubt the shade that they're throwing at you and you're thinking you're overreacting, doubt the intuitive hits that are coming through. I tell you this from experience. My guides have been amazing over the past couple of days, because I had one of these individuals try to take me on a roller coaster of mental and emotional fuckery in such a conniving, low, and covert way. And it was like psychopathic, because it's like this being wanted to watch me squirm for their pleasure, but to pretend like nothing was going on, and then to kind of try to get me to react, and then pretend like nothing was going on, or pretend like the problem was with me, or pretend like they had no idea what was happening. But I never succumbed to it. I just continued to pretend like the false story they were giving me was truth, and then distance myself all the way, right? So a lot of attempts to manipulate emotionally by causing discrepancy between what you feel and what they're saying and actually doing, whether in your face or behind the scenes. Okay, so a lot of that gaslighting fuckery. So for many of you, especially those of you who are exiting these really, really stuck karmic cycles, where you began to get your liberation in 2022. I've gone into it so many times. If you want to know more about that, I went into it in more detail in last night's video. But many of you who are breaking yourself free from these very stuck karmic cycles that you've been going through with these souls and false entities since the fall of Atlantis, this is why it's been so difficult for you to break out. This is why it had to happen at this point, where the foundational energies of the false matrix, where they inserted themselves in your energy to begin with. This is why you had to wait to get to this point, to get rid of this story now for good. So it's an integral time for many of you to break completely free of these cycles that haven't only happened in this or a few lifetimes. They've been happening for eras and millennia. And it's time for you to be reborn into your golden age state, into your true golden ratio through Leo season. And so the intensity of what's happening through this Cancer Leo season energy is going to be big for those of you still completely eliminating these cycles out of your life. And I see you because I'm one of you, okay? You've succumbed too many times to these attempts to usurp your emotional sensibilities by manipulation of material outcomes. So these are the beings who like to try and come and pretend to be kind and to give you things or to tell you things that completely go against what you're feeling emotionally and in your gut. But because materially they're presenting a story or they're presenting something, you've gone against yourself in the past. This has been an ongoing thing. Be very aware right now, because even if you are hip to that truth, like I said, the way they're coming right now is very, very covert, very, very subtle, very underhanded. And the most important thing is that you be grounded in yourself and your truth, right? And that you listen to your internal guidance above everything and everyone right now. Because you have played these games, this very game, with some of these souls and entities since the fall of Atlantis. Okay, that's how deep this energy, this game, this remembrance, this familiarity, this feeling of home, which home isn't always a good feeling, right? That's how deep it goes in you on a cellular level. So it's like it might feel like you're going against yourself in getting rid of this energy, and that's only because it's been masquerading as your reality and your truth and your home base for millennia, okay? What you also need to know is some of these souls are trying to entreat you to come out of your truth and to lose yourself again to their shenanigans. Some of these souls are on E. They're on empty. Their tank is done, okay? All their solar resources, all their divine resources, they've been squandered. Okay, they've been squandered, and they seek now to steal more of yours. So when we are not walking in our divine path and our divine truth, we lose our access to our solar plexus resources. Beings who purposely harm other beings in order to get access to their solar plexus resources lose their own at a more rapid rate. Okay, so it's one thing to betray yourself and to walk out of alignment with your truth. It's another thing to purposely harm others in order to steal their destiny and to steal their energy too. Okay, and the Matrix had all of these beings who thought they were in superior positions engaged in these games. That's why I said a lot of them still think that they have been living in this position of superiority, and that position was really their judgment, because in that they were blinded to these spiritual truths, and the whole while they were losing more divinely than you and I ever could. Okay? The feeding bank is closed. Okay? The feeding bank is closed. It closes as you refuse to be manipulated by their games, their mask, and their artifice. And some of these games, masks, and artifice will come across as really, really nice and tempting at times. The feeding bank is closed. Right now, tuning into your own gut is going to save your life, save your soul. So you're clearing out. Do not fall into anybody's belief system that supports your inability in doing so. You're not here to succumb to this old energy, this old pattern, this old cycle, this old way of being under someone else's subjugation or command energetically. It's coming up because you're clearing it out. And do not fall into any belief system that supports your inability to do so, because you came here ready. Okay, especially with the covert narcissistic ploys that are designed to get you to question your own gut and go against your own gut. Remember, I said to you, these energies, these beings are coming at you with really covert and deceptive energies that materially they don't even seem like anything. But internally, you know, your gut is showing you that something ain't right. Go with your gut. Your solar plexus is connected to your gut energy. Okay, your solar plexus, Leo and Virgo energies sit at the gut. And what the false matrix did through having your solar plexus hijacked was to get you to disengage with your own intuition and your own gut, to get yourself to constantly go against that intuition, go against that guidance that is constantly lighting the way and showing you through how you feel emotionally and how you feel in your body what is good, what is right, and what is true for you. And it's time for you, no matter what someone is coming to you and saying to you, showing you, it doesn't matter. Listen and reattune yourself to your gut and what your solar plexus is showing you and lighting up about the truth that you need to align yourself with internally to be safe. Your gut is the seat of your solar plexus and your gold print. Your gold print is your ability to materialize and actualize your blueprint or your divine purpose. You can have access to who you know you are, but if you are not in proper emotional alignment and loyalty to self and trusting your own path and walking it, you will not materialize and actualize it. It's time to materialize and actualize your gold print. It's time for the golden age, the new golden era, to be born through you this Leo season. Okay, so your gold print shows you how to utilize your authentic emotional experiences to actualize your divine truth and destiny. Your authentic emotional experiences to actualize your divine truth and destiny. These beings that are trying to take you out of your divine truth want to manipulate you out of this emotional authenticity through mind games designed to toy and get you doubting yourself and in anxiety and lower emotional states that will cause you to doubt your own gut and intuition and move away from yourself and lose yourself once again by opening a door to something deceptive and not true for you. And they've been doing this to you time and time again. And a lot of them, it's not conscious, but many of them, they don't like the fact that you are shining brighter and that you are moving more in your purpose, and they feel threatened by it because they're not doing the same, for one thing. And not only are they not doing the same, but they've spent so much of their time in their life invested in taking you off course. It's like watching their investment and their asset walk away from them. Be aware. Okay? So the whole point of getting you to doubt yourself and to be in anxiety is to get you to be like the cowardly lion from the Wizard of Oz, to lose your courage, your conviction, and strength. That was the point of the false matrix in any case, was to get you to lose your courage, your conviction, and your strength, and to begin to do that by, by constantly, wounding you as a child, wounding your spirit. Moving you away from your own internal guidance. Follow the fucking yellow brick road. Follow the fucking yellow brick road. Okay? Not the one in the movie. The yellow brick road is the road that, remember that Braveheart, that Care Bear solar plexus light? Your yellow brick road is the road that is lit up by your solar plexus. And it's lit up just for you to know how to go and to intercede it, okay? This is a path set up and lit up by your solar plexus that leads you into your personal dragon's cove, where your golden treasure awaits you. Do not falter now. You are getting back access not only to your purpose, but all the resources you need to live it out with ease. Okay? That's what the golden age is also about. So follow the fucking yellow brick road. Don't be taken off and don't be intimidated by the fucking Wizard of Oz, okay? The Matrix took that. Remember, they take all their entertainment. They know what they're doing. They know the truth. All of their entertainment is based upon a lot of esoteric wisdom. The yellow brick road is the road that is lit up by the golden frequency you carry that takes you back into the full alignment with the true expression of your golden ratio. okay, that automatically reconnects you with the true golden ratio of the earth and the dragon lines that protect you in that too. And this is why cancer season is so important and so intense, because there's so much that needs to be established, reestablished, not only in you, but in the very grids of the earth. Cancer energy is where we begin to have the ability to actualize our godhood. Through Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, we realize it. Through Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, we begin to do what it takes to actualize it. And through Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius, we begin to integrate the wisdom of those other two quarters. And then by the time we get to Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, it's time to bring it on home. It's time to materialize and actualize that truth. So don't allow yourself to be taken out of yourself, out of your emotional equilibrium, off of your path, or into any places where deception lurks. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I've got to let my kids do some things tonight. But it's been a pleasure reading for you. Remember, if you want to, I'm really crap. I'm going to be very honest. I'm really crap at putting out these events that I host. I wait till the last minute. Part of it is because the energies have been so intense. I don't like to commit myself to things unless I know I'm in the right energy. So oftentimes it'll be a few days before, and I'll be like, yeah, I can do this weekend, and I'll put out the announcement. But I know that that's not like my strength or whatever, which is, it's all good. But if you would like to join for either group session, then please make sure to check out the information in the description box and the comment section below. If you'd like to book an appointment with me, a one-to-one soul recovery session, my summer rates have kicked in. You can find all that information on my website, solara.info. Also tarot astrology readings, divine alignment readings, tarot astrology reports, all that information is on my website. If you would like to join me on Substack, there's a few more days of it being completely free without paywall, and then on Monday we go back to the original programming. And so either way, there are always free resources. It's just that not everything will be free. Okay, so check out my Substack. That information will be in the description box below also, as well as the information for my other two channels. But I'm going to wish you guys a beautiful rest of your day, evening, wherever you are in the world. I hopefully will see you again soon. Until next time, be well.